Hi, do you have difficult people in your life? Well, I know the answer to that question. Let me ask you this question. Are you breathing? If you're breathing, you have difficult people in your life. We all have difficult people in our lives. It's because we're human, we're bumping up against each other, and it's not that they may necessarily be difficult. It may be that there is that in us that reacts to certain personalities, different personalities, and there are just basically unskilled people in the world. Oftentimes, we feel like we are at the mercy of these people around us. Well, as I help you build out a life that you love, including your dream relationships, today I'm going to share with you 4 tips to creating dream relationships, no matter who's in your life. So if you're liking what you're hearing, I am thrilled about this training that I'm bringing you today, because I know that this is such a primary question that I get from people. What do I do with those people in my life that are, Molly. What do I do with those people in my life that are just tough to be around? And I don't want to leave them. I mean, there are people in your life that you don't want to eradicate. So I am really thrilled about the tips I'm going to be sharing with you today. 4 tips on how to create dream relationships, even with those, quote, difficult people. So if you're liking what you're hearing, hit the hearts and the thumbs up and the likes. And if you know somebody who has somebody else in their life where you hear them talking about how hard it is to be around them, make sure you share this with them in order to support them with creating their dream relationships as they create their dream life. And if you want more on how to create your dream life, I am thrilled to be offering a free full-on training where we're going to go much deeper into the system that causes you, as you apply it consistently, to take an image that you love and bring it into the facts of your life so you're living the life that you love. So if you want to sign up for my masterclass that's coming up, thank you, Severina. If you want to sign up for my masterclass that's coming up, put the word love in the comment section, and my team, which is here, will get you signed up and ready to go for that. All right, so my name is Felicia Searcy, and it is my joy to be your partner in believing. I have had the honor of helping thousands of people literally around the world. I was going back and forth with a woman in Norway this morning about building out her dream life. I've had the honor of serving thousands of people. In Australia. And in fact, this particular topic, exactly. A woman in Australia who's bumping up against edges with difficult people. All right, so who am I? I'm Felicia Searcy, and it is my joy to help you build a life that you love. Your dream is my passion, and I've had the honor of serving thousands of people around the world create lives that they love. Okay, so the issue. We have people in our lives. Sometimes people don't always show up in the way that we want them to show up. Sometimes there are people who consistently just rub us wrong. They just rub us wrong. What do we do? Particularly when they're people that we really can't completely write off. They're family members, they're long-term friends, they're co-workers, and you don't want to write them off. And so there ensues the struggle, because you don't want to keep putting yourself in a situation where you'll walk away just feeling really icky about yourself. What do? Well, so here are 4 tips to help you create dream relationships, even with what seem to be those difficult people in your life. So tip number 1, in your mind, dream up the kind of relationship you would love to have with that person. See yourself having the kind of relationship that when you think about it, it really lights you up. Now, this does not mean the person's going to change. But what happens is, as you begin to imagine a relationship that really fits what you would love, when you think about it, your whole system lights up. there's several things that happen as a result of those images. See, here's the thing. We're always thinking something, and when it comes to another person, when that person comes to mind, you have a habit about what is it that you think about when you think about them. You have a habit around what captures your attention. You have a habit around your opinion of them. You have a habit around whether or not it's you have critical thoughts, you have disempowering thoughts, you have fearful thoughts. Right now, when that person crosses the streets of your mind, it activates images and feelings. Those images and feelings, whatever they are, then direct the way that you act. That then, oh, all right. So, Christine, I can't, got to get, okay, awful experience with difficult social media friends. Okay, so this is perfect. This is perfect, Christine. So thank you so much for your vulnerability and for sharing this. So the first thing we want to do is to consciously choose what are the images we're going to have around that relationship. You're making it up anyway. Now, I get it that most of the images are based on past experience, but you're still making up the future because you really don't know exactly how things are going to project in the future. So when you begin to give yourself permission, and I know it can be a really scary thing, because if you start imagining a friendly relationship, a loving relationship, what happens is that sometimes we feel like we make ourselves vulnerable, we let our guard down, and we put ourselves in a position to get hurt again. So stay with me, because I'm going to help you navigate that piece, which is why most people keep that armor up. And if you can keep seeing the other person's unskilled behavior, and as it relates to you, then somehow it protects you, when in fact it actually keeps perpetuating the cycle. So stay with me during this as I support you in really navigating this process. So Christine, as you have so generously shared that you're having difficulty with social media friends, when you think about your social media and you think about the people that are showing up in unskilled, unkind ways, think about how would you love those interactions to go. Mentally see those images in this phenomenal faculty called our imagination. In fact, all of us, believe me, I got my own people. And guess what? Just like I shared on my personal page, there are people who I rub wrong. There are people that when I walk in, they say, oh God, Felicia's here. How do I avoid her? I'm too intense. I'm too Pollyanna. I'm just too, whatever the two is for them. That, for all of us, there are people that rub us wrong, and there are people that we rub wrong. And a key piece of this is recognizing that it really is about us as the individual, and it really doesn't have a whole lot to do with the other person. So first and foremost, you're developing images that when you think about that person, you light up. Now, here's why this is so important. As you think about those images, yeah, exactly, Christine. As we think about these images, there's a couple of things that happen. First of all, it changes us. See, this is my belief, take it or leave it. I have a fundamental belief that every single human being, when they hit the planet, has a fundamental basic nature of goodness. And somewhere along the line, whether it's genes or our environment, there are things that can happen that cause us to show up in ways that are different than who we naturally are. So as you start creating images around this relationship that light you up when you think about it, what it does is that it activates your natural sense of goodness. It's who you are. I mean, I can look at the list of the people that are here, and those of you watching the replay, you are your natural state, and it's not that hard. You know, you're really good people. So when you start imaging, start creating images, you start dreaming a relationship that really lights you up, it causes you to activate that naturally good part of you. The other thing that it does, exactly, Christine, yay. All right, the other thing that it does is that it shifts your focus away from the very thing that causes you to want to cringe, and you consciously choose, you make an advanced decision to place your focus on the things that you admire about this person. Now, I know that there are some people in our lives where we got to dig deep to find the things that we admire about them. That it's you know, there are particular personality traits for me, and I'm not going to get into details, but well, you know, sharp voices, really, like, in my mind, it may be, that's not exactly, you know, necessarily who they are, but there's an aggressiveness that sometimes I find myself cringing and wanting to back away. And so I characterize and say that person's a bully, and they're unkind, and which, you know, there have been times when it just hasn't been accurate. They've just had a very aggressive personality. As I have made a decision to consciously put my focus on things about that person that I admire, what it does is that it doesn't mean that that behavior goes away. That behavior may never go away, but it loosens its edge. It dulls the sharpness because it's just not in my field of awareness as much. The other thing that it does, as I am paying attention, so number one, so I'm just going through this without like naming the tips. Number one, get a very clear image of the kind of relationship that you would love to have. So think about that right now. When you brought that difficult person to mind, when you think about the way that they cross the streets of your mind, how would you love to think about them? You meet them in a gathering, whether it's a family gathering, whether you bump into them at work, how would you love to interact with them? See those images in your mind. And I'm jumping ahead a little bit, and see how you're showing up. All right, number two is to make an advanced decision to consciously bring your focus to the things that you admire about that person. This is not hiding our head in the sand and pretending that the other behaviors don't exist. This is not a matter of, you know, la, 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 everything's cool. It's consciously choosing, realizing that there are these elements about that person, and in this moment, I'm going to choose to bring my focus to the thing that I appreciate about this person. And as I said on my personal, you may have to dig deep. You know, it may be that you appreciate the fact that the person brushed their teeth, you know, and Christine, it may be the fact that, you know, whatever unkind thing they're saying, if the grammar and punctuation was correct, you appreciate that they had good grammar and punctuation, or that the spelling was correct. It's a master move. It's a master move to bring your focus to the things that you appreciate when this other behavior is going on. Why this is so important, it leads us to number three. Number three is that you then get to choose who you're going to be. Well, you always get to choose. We always get to choose who we're going to be. And it's so much easier to show up as your natural state of kindness and compassion and presence when you've got your focus on the elements about that person that you... But keep digging, Christine. It's there. Nobody's black or white. Nobody's unidimensional. I so appreciate that. Believe me, I got people like this. I like to... You know, when I go to certain gatherings, sometimes I have to like physically make a list, right? These are the things that I'm going to put my focus on. And literally, you know, the great thing about being able to make a decision is that we can make an advanced decision about this is where I'm placing my focus. And then the other advanced decision is this is who I'm being. See, what's so great about this is that we have the ability to choose who we're going to be. We are not at the mercy of the people around us to have them dictate to us who we're going to be. So as you have this vision, you know, back to what the first step was, to create a vision of the kind of relationship that you would love, the person living that vision, that person is a particular person. That person is showing up in a particular way. And that, I would imagine, in a loving, kind vision, you're showing up in kindness, you're showing up in compassion, you're showing up aware of who you are. Now, here's the important piece. The more you're able to do this, the less impacted you are by the other person's behavior. The more you're able to claim who you are as this remarkable being and know that nothing can impact that. There's nothing outside of you that can change your fundamental nature of goodness and holiness and beauty and magnificence. And see me looking you in the eye, even when those voices want to jump up and tell you otherwise, and know that I stand here with unwavering belief, knowing that about you. And the more you're able to claim that for yourself, the more you're able to show up as who you naturally are, and the less impacted you are by that other person's behavior. And so the part of you that wants to protect, you realize there's really nothing to protect because this person really can't take anything from you. Your dignity is your divine inheritance. Your goodness is your divine inheritance, and nobody can take that from us unless we effectively hand it to them on a silver platter and say, okay, you get to determine how I feel about myself today. So as you go through these steps, the real gift that you gain from this is by learning that you never have to be at the mercy of somebody else's behavior. I love it, Christine. Thank you. So let me get back to this. We never have to be at the mercy of somebody else's behavior when you claim who you are. There's a great story, and I don't remember where I read it, but I once heard a great story about a woman. This was back in the day when they had newsstands, and I think in larger cities they still have newsstands. And there was two women that went to buy a newspaper, and well, one woman was buying the newspaper, and you know, she went up to the guy, and the guy was gruff, and what do you want? And she said, I'd like a newspaper. And she said, and he basically just threw it at her and barked a amount of money and grabbed her money and literally threw the change at her. And the woman who was buying the newspaper was polite, was cordial, said thank you, have a good day. Her voice was kind. And the woman she was with just walked away in a huff and indignant and said, how could you be so kind to him? How could you be so nice? He was so rude to you. And she said, I never allow somebody to reduce me to them because I remember who I am. That is such a powerful statement and such a remarkable teaching for all of us. There was another story that on my personal page, a good friend of mine, Christy Karate, and a peer, beautiful, wonderful mentor in helping people unlock their creativity as they build lives that as they love. But I remember Christy telling a story once of how she was flying across the country, taking her son to check out some colleges. And her and her son were sitting together, and there was a married couple who just got on the plane, and they were in two separate seats. And so he asked if she would be willing to give up her seat so he could sit with his new wife. And she said, well, no, you know, I'm with my son, and I think that he would be more comfortable with me here, knowing that her son would be uncomfortable if Christy left. And so the the guy sat down and said, well, I'm going to make this 5 hours miserable. And he spent the next 5 hours digging his elbow into her ribs and basically pushing her over and was rude. And I'll never forget, it was so inspiring what Christy did. Christy said that the best she could do was turn to love. Now listen to this. The best that she could do was turn to love, which meant that she turned to her son Aaron and leaned into Aaron. I thought that feisty part of me would have jumped up. So I preach this stuff and I work really hard to show up this way. And believe me, I am not perfect at this. It's an ongoing evolution, right? It's an ongoing growth in our awareness of who we really are. But I remember hearing that story and just being so inspired by Christy's decision to show up in love while this guy, the whole trip, and by the way, when he got off the plane, they effectively arrested him. So and she didn't have to suffer at that level for 5 hours. Here's the remarkable thing about this. As we choose the images that we imagine around our relationships, what we're going to notice about the other person, and who we're going to be, those are the 3 tips. You don't have to suffer. You are not handing your well-being over to somebody else who may be incapable of treating it reverently, and you effectively claim it back, and no longer do you have to suffer, and you get to be the person that you are created to be. So if you're liking this, like and share. And again, if you want to come into my masterclass where I go into a much deeper training on how to create the life that you love, put the word love in the comment section and my team will make sure that you are shown how to get notified about that masterclass. All right, so there's a 4th tip. I said that there are 4 tips. Number 4, let it be okay to choose just not to be around somebody. In fact, sometimes there are behaviors that are abusive. There are behaviors that really cross the line. And it is okay to love from a distance. You don't have to do it out of anger. You don't have to do it out of judgment. You just simply, you know what? This is more than what I am able to stay present for in this moment. So right now I'm going to choose to distance myself from this person, limit my contact. If you are in a gathering, it's okay if you don't consciously, purposely seek this person out. And it's okay if you, Christine, I would love, if you want some feedback with this, I would love for you to send me those direct messages to get some support around celebrating you. And if it should ever happen again, if there might be some tweaks for you to stand in your power, but more than anything, just to celebrate you. It takes courage to reach out to people directly. Yes, and absolutely the sweaty 10-minute conversation, which is to share with somebody what their behavior is, how it's impacting you, and what you would love instead. Now, the person always has the choice to stay exactly who they are. And that's when tip number 4, we get to choose how much interaction, how much contact, even when you're in the same space. And you don't have to do it from a place of anger or protection or indignation, but that it's just silently being present and sending them waves of appreciation as you stay solidly in your own skin. The really wonderful thing about this is that it then translates, private message me, Christine. It translates into all of our relationships because, it's like, I love to hike. I love to hike. It's one of the reasons why we moved to Southern California. And I go out to, we have so much open space where we live. And I'll go out now, I'll hike the hills. I love to hike the hills. And what I love is that when I hike that hill, a lot of times is what I sound like. You know, when I get to the top of the hill and I'm now walking downhill and walking a flat area, now it's like I'm coasting. When you master your ability, when I master my ability to be fully present with those people who just rub us wrong and really just may have unskilled behavior, notice how much richer all of your relationships get, all of my relationships get, because effectively you're building the muscles of learning how to see images of healthy, vibrant relationships, learning how to keep your focus, because, you know, even the people that we love, sometimes I have to work hard. You know, I've been with my husband for 31 years. There are days I have to work hard and keeping my focus on the things that I really appreciate about him. And I adore my husband. But the more we're able to do this, particularly with the difficult people in our lives, the easier it becomes with the easy people in our lives. And the more we're able to show up as who we naturally are, because it's who we are. And again, listen to that discerning voice, the voice of inspired insight around, with some people in particular, how much contact to have. You know, if you go to a gathering, they're there, and there's the potential for some really, yes, actually, I don't know when you jumped in, but I talked about this. I don't know if it's and then it's making a decision about whether or not this is a relationship that you want to stay in. If it's a really, you know what, that's the case for all relationships. That I know I have defriend people. Yeah, watch the whole thing, Ashley. I know that I have defriended. Is that a word? Unfriended. People, there was a period of time in particular. It was when Robin Williams committed suicide. And I have personal experience with someone who's super close to me who had multiple suicide attempts. In fact, I've had a couple people in my life who've had multiple suicide attempts. And there was a woman that I went to high school with who, you know, who do you think you are? And you know, spout all this happy stuff, and it wouldn't have saved Robin Williams. And you're just, you know, what you're doing is, how did she put it? What you're doing is, it's harmful. It's going to harm other people, and you got no right. You have no right to say these things. I mean, it was just, on a human level, it was nasty. And so I made a decision, you know, that level of toxicity, I'm going to choose not to participate with it. And I unfriended her. And so, and again, this is a much longer conversation. And if there were questions that you have around this, private message me, and I would be more than happy to go deeper into actually a deeper process around people that you really are debating whether or not to stay in relationship with. But to know that there is a process to discern whether or not this is still a good fit, or if it is complete. And there is a way that I walk you through to do that ending well, to do the ending well. So if you're in that situation, private message me, and I would be more than happy to support you, just having a conversation around what that potentially could look like. So with this, those difficult people that you may not necessarily be considering whether or not to eradicate, but again, knowing that it's okay to limit your contact with them. Number one, clear image. Number two, what are you paying attention to? Number three, who are you showing up as? And number four, give yourself permission to monitor and limit the contact that you do have with really difficult people when you find that it's just more than what you're able to do in terms of showing up in a way that you feel good about. It's not about feeling good about how they're treating you. It's about your ability to show up in a way that you feel good. And there are people that I know I have not mastered that yet. And so I know that I need to limit my contact as I continue to grow my awareness. All right, so if you want more of this, if you want, yeah, Christine, send it to me. Like I said, I would be more than happy to support you, and because it sounds like that there's still some energy around it. So whatever I can do to support you and being free in your mind. So if you want more deeper training on how to create the life that you love, I've got a master class training coming up. I'm reading your comments, and what am I doing? Okay, so put the word love in the comment section, and we'll get that information to you, so you'll have access to a much deeper training around how to build the life that you love, including your dream relationships. If this has served you, share this with people. This is, you know, we all have relationships, and so let's support people in creating loving relationships, whoever is in their life. And what else? And like and share and all that good stuff. All right, so it has been my joy to be able to share this information with you. I hope it has served you. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Felicia Searcy. It is my joy to help thousands of people create lives that they love. Your dream is my passion. Here's what I have come to discover. As you build out a life that you love, truly it's your highest contribution to the body of humanity. Christine, you are so welcome. And I so appreciate your vulnerability. And again, masterclass, put the word love. And if you want to have a deeper conversation around whatever relationships may be showing up for you, private message me and we can make arrangements for that. All right. Have a fabulous day, everyone. Mwah. Love each and every one of you. Take care.